Mark Rogers TV talking ACC scheduling as we talk to Brian Kantor of Clemson 24/7. Situation here, of course, with the proliferation of the expansion across college football. Teams cannot play every opponent inside their conference. So we've seen a lot of conferences like the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the Big 10 going to 2016, opting for 9-game conference schedules. The SEC recently has chose to stay with the 8-game schedule, and the ACC has followed in line. Hey, Ryan, we would like to get your input in terms of the ACC situation and your thoughts about the 8-game schedule.
Yes, well, I think for both the SEC and ACC, it was the right decision. That's not to say 9 games isn't the right call for the Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12, but specifically for the ACC and SEC, I think it's absolutely the right call, and there's a couple reasons. I think the biggest and most obvious is that the ACC and SEC have overlapping footprints. So you have a lot of phenomenal non-conference rivals. Louisville, Kentucky will be a new one. You have Florida, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia, Georgia Tech. So those are games that absolutely must be played. They're great for college football. You can't get rid of them. And the problem with having a 9th conference game is every other year you'll be playing 5. Let's just say we're an ACC team. You'll have 5 road ACC games. The following year you'll only have 4, but that year you'll be also going to South Carolina or Georgia, whichever your non-conference rival is. So the problem with that situation is if you already have 5 road games penciled in, and college football teams, at least major college football teams, are playing 7 home games, 5 road games, that means you could really never play a big-time road football game if you've already have a non-conference rival. And so Florida State and Clemson were very strong against 9 games. Obviously, they got enough support, and they will be playing only 8.
So, Ryan, we know that what's driving some of the headaches there in the scheduling is the 14 college football playoffs. So some of the better teams in college football and some of those programs that would like to vie for a college football playoff are concerned now about their non-conference scheduling, and it's been to the benefit of the fans to see some of these really elite teams schedule one another coming down the road. But in regards to, yes, Clemson, South Carolina, Florida State, those are amazing games that must be played. Louisville, Kentucky's another one, of course, involving an ACC member. You've got a mandate from the SEC. Also, it works as well in the ACC that the league has mandated that everybody must play a Power 5 conference team. Your thoughts on that mandate?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it accomplishes what they had set out to accomplish with that 9-game schedule, and that it really makes the ACC schedule a lot tougher. So, it's not going to affect Clemson because they play South Carolina. It's not going to affect Florida State because they play Florida, and so on. But if you look at NC State's schedule this year, they're playing Army, they're playing at Utah State. So those games in the future, at least one of them, will be replaced with a much more challenging opponent. I know they just ended a series with Vanderbilt. And given that the SEC is the only other major conference still playing 8 conference games, I think we'll see more SEC, ACC games, which I think is great for the fans. I think that variety is a lot more interesting than just another ACC game.
So, Ryan, as you know, based on all these restrictions placed on these conference members, what is kind of been the result of this is the difficulty in scheduling non-conference games that help these conference opponents bulk up the schedule. So what's happening is the thought of let's play a conference opponent but not count it as a conference game, because we don't want to go 6, 7, 8 years not playing a primary regional team that our fans are used to seeing us play, but at the same time the schedule is so unbalanced internally among the conference, it's not going to be counted as possibly a conference game. So your thoughts about that oddity that could take place?
Yeah, so the ACC just came out and said that that would be something they would allow, and it would count as one of these big games against one of these big 5 conference teams, right? So you think of kind of obvious matchups like Duke, NC State, Wake Forest, UNC. They're down the road and they don't play for 6 years. It's a little silly, but it's not worth blowing up the whole conference and realigning everything just for those situations. So what they could do, if that's the game that's really important to those schools, just schedule them out of conference. You'll still get to play them. It just won't count in the ACC standings. It's certainly odd. It's definitely quirky, but it's an easy solution. Another thing, to get more variety in general in the ACC, something they've discussed, And the ACC, John Swofford, has officially come out in support of this, is getting rid of divisions altogether. So you may have Clemson may have a rivalry with Florida State and Georgia Tech, just for an example, and they have them locked in every year. But the rest of the conference, the other 6 conference games, would just rotate. So you'd get to play everyone in the conference often, and get a lot of variety, and still have all the really important games. And best of all, you would get a more deserving champion because the 2 best teams would play, not just the champions from arbitrarily drawn conferences.
Well, this 4-team college football playoff has really shaken things up. It's causing these conference commissioners and conference members to really think things through to put their particular conference members and the best teams in their conferences in a position where they can fight to be selected for the 4-team playoff. Ryan Kantor of Clemson 24/7 joins us, and we appreciate the insight and the information.
Thank you.